Hi guys, this is Carissa with Inky Fairy Designs for the Blitsy creative team, and today I'm taking some of the brush lettering from my beginner brush lettering and creating a home decor piece for this. This is kind of like a garden sign. I'm starting with this walnut hollow rustic market sign. It's awesome. It's got a ton of texture though, so I added a complete coat of gesso, a couple coats that I didn't film. And then I decided to use a brayer in order to keep some of that texture on my piece and give it more of a distressed kind of look as I add colors of paint. And I'm using two different colors of Pebeo high viscosity paint, and so this is just basically building my background. I wanted it to be beautiful, colorful, kind of rustic, you know, like the paint was chipping, stuff like that. So I think that's why I used the brayer to kind of not fill in all of those nooks and crannies. So while that's drying, I'm going to come in and I'm going to work on some lettering here. I am working on this, the Rhodia not dot pad, but the graph paper. And I was doing some test runs earlier, and I really like the way that this butterflies turned out. In order to get this onto my sign, I could have written directly on it, but I'm still very shaky, and I wanted to kind of practice and then put it on there. So to do that, I'm lettering on tissue paper, and then I'm going to use matte gel medium to adhere it to my piece. And so that kind of takes away, I don't have to worry about making mistakes or anything like that. So now I'm lettering the word welcome, and I realized when I first did it, it was way too small, so I kind of figured out how tall the butterflies was and counted that out on the graph paper, which is really great to have the graph paper so I can kind of get that sizing correct. And then I can come in with a brush marker and kind of do the brush lettering and see if I do really like it. So I'm thickening up some of my downstrokes and just, you know, making sure that I really like it. And you can see how I'm totally off my pencil line. That's just a guide. And now I'm coming in with my tissue paper and a Sharpie brush marker because we need to use a permanent marker in order to adhere it with the gel medium. We don't want it to bleed any more than you can see that it's bleeding on the tissue paper, and we are good to go. So I cut it out as close to the lettering as I could. The tissue paper will sort of fade to the background, but not completely, so it is helpful if you can cut it as close to your lettering as you can. And now I'm using the gel medium, and let me tell you, this was a painstakingly, almost heartbreaking process as I was tearing the paper, because I normally adhere both sides. Like I'll adhere the paper side, and then I'll also adhere my canvas, whatever I'm adhering it to. But for this, I should have just put my gel medium onto my sign and then add the tissue paper on top, which is what I did with the second word, and it was a lot easier. So I definitely recommend you know, doing it that way. I apologize for the little hands and my lighting moving. My son was keeping me company while I was doing this part. Anyway, so I did add the gel medium on top to seal it, and I'm going to let that dry and kind of move on to the next process. I did want to mention, as I do this stenciling, which doesn't turn out, so I'm not even going to talk about it, you could do this technique with, like, if you printed off a sentiment. Say you're not comfortable with your handwriting or your brush lettering, you could definitely print off a sentiment onto some tissue paper, like tape it to computer paper, run it through your printer, as long as it's, I think a laser printer would work best for this. And then you could do the same technique and use your matte medium to adhere that to your canvas or your signs, or anything that you're doing. Palette signs would be really cute for this technique as well. So don't think that you have to do the brush lettering. I just wanted to show you how you can take those techniques and bring them onto like a finished project and kind of make some really unique home decor and gifts. Like this is going to be a gift from my parents, for my mom. She loves butterflies. I'm going to seal it with you know, like a clear coat spray so that it can hopefully hold up to the elements. But yeah, I just really enjoyed doing this and adding my personal touch of my handwriting and my lettering. And then I tried to use that butterfly stencil like you saw, but it was just way too textured and it wasn't going to work. So I ended up having a big green blob after that, and so I just kind of took that all around the edges. I'm really not happy with it at this point, but I'm pushing through. I took out some paper smooches stamps, butterfly stamps, and I stamped them on there with some watering can archival ink, and that was just going to give me a guide so that I could come in and add some color and paint, give like a hand painted look, butterfly look, you know, add the butterflies to my sign. And I think this is a really great way you to use your stamps in a different way. You know, we're all used to using them with cards and, you know, coloring them with markers or pencils, but you know, these solid stamps are fantastic. You can stamp them with a lighter ink on a project like this, and then come in and paint with your paints like you would, and it just adds such a unique touch. It's not perfect. There's definitely that handmade quality to this piece, but thankfully it's for my mom, and I think she'll be pretty happy with it anyway. I couldn't see the stamping at all for this the right side of that butterfly, so I'm trying to like even them out and make them a little bit more symmetrical, but it didn't totally happen. So I'm adding in some color. I'm using 3 colors of different acrylics. All of the colors that I'm using today will be listed on the Blitsy blog, of course, as always. I used a quinacridone magenta, I believe, and a quinacridone gold, and then a yellow, and I did those 2 butterflies that you see me working on now, kind of blending those colors together. And I'm happy with it, but I'm not totally pleased with it. But like I said, and this is what I say with every project that I do, anything that I'm doing, mixed media or whatever, I just push through it, and eventually I'm going to be happy with it. I just can't give up. So here I had a little bit of that white paint, which is gesso, that I did to kind of give my butterflies an outline. And then I brought that quinacridone magenta in, and I love the way that it blended with that white. I was like, okay, that's the technique I should have used. So I'm trying to use that more on this butterfly, which is still a little bit wet, and kind of adding more of that quin magenta. And overall, I'm really, really happy with how the butterflies came out. It's not something that I've done before, and I think I am going to try this again. So I told you I really didn't like that green, how that turned out, so I'm taking some gesso, and I'm just using my fingers and kind of dry brushing it with my fingers onto the canvas or the sign, and you know, kind of pushing that back again. And then I really liked it because it kind of added another layer, and it kind of looked like a garden. And so like I said, everything can be fixed. Just gotta move on and work with it. So I showed you I'm using the Sakura Perma Opaque ink pen, or not the ink pen, paint marker in black, and I'm going over all of that lettering that we adhered with the gel medium. I just want to darken it up, get those blacks really crisp and intense. Also, you can see this also covers up the tears and the rips that I had on butterflies. I kind of ripped the U and the T, and so this goes in and I can fill in those spots and hide that, you know, and also make that a lot crisper. So I do that with both words. I had already started on the welcome off camera, so that's why you see I didn't do the first half of it. And then also you can see on that one butterfly I did outline that, and I'm going to go in and add the little body and little antennas and outline the other 2 butterflies. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. I wanted to keep this fairly one-dimensional. I didn't want to use, I was tempted to use like a paste or any texture paste or something, but that sign was super textured already. I didn't really need to bring in any extra texture, and this way I can seal it with like a clear spray, and hopefully it will hold up to the elements sitting in a garden. So here's some close-ups of my finished piece. I hope you enjoyed this video and see how you can take your hand lettering onto your home decor pieces. For more ideas and inspiration, be sure to visit the Blitsy blog and Facebook page. Until next time, happy crafting.